Um, so I'm so excited, actually, to welcome Jenna to the stage. She is the founder of HerAIgency. Sorry, I say it wrong every time. But that's an AI consultancy that is designed to help female founders in women-led businesses harness AI to scale smarter, not harder. Notice the theme here? She understands firsthand the challenges of balancing business growth with the demands of everyday life, and she's on a mission to make AI an accessible, game-changing tool for women in business. She is a passionate advocate for helping women reclaim their time, reduce their mental load of entrepreneurship, and leverage AI to grow businesses on their terms. And today, she's going to show us how AI isn't about replacing human creativity. Instead, it's about amplifying it and making it easier for women to build thriving businesses without sacrificing what matters most. So help me welcome to the stage, Jenna Nelson. Hang on. I think I need to mute this. Sorry.
Hey, are you getting signal now? All right.
Test. Okay. Woo! All right, let's try that again. All right, good morning, everybody. Okay, so as we already talked about, we're going to talk about training LoRAs today, and that is essentially an image generation model and ways that you can really create imagery that is really specific to your brand without the photo shoot, essentially. So we kind of already talked about me. This is probably the only real photo you're going to see of me this morning. These are my twins. This is me. This is a real photo. But if we go back, that one is not. So just to kind of set the stage on that. And we talk about kind of the nerdy AI stuff. This is all going to be pretty technical. So I'm going to walk you through a lot of it. I want to show you more than tell you about it. So that's kind of what we're going to go through today. All right, so let's talk about what a LoRA model is. It's called low rank adaptation, and it's essentially a way to fine tune your imagery to a specific brand style. It can be for personal photos. It could be for product photos. You could use it for like virtual renderings of stages or rooms. You can use it for marketing graphics. Really anything that has kind of a specified style, we can create with a LoRA. And why? Why do that, right? Like, we all want to connect with our audience. We want that authenticity, but let's face it, photo shoots are expensive. You need a lot of content in 2025. You can outsource easier when you're using AI-generated photography. And you can kind of differentiate your brand. We're gonna talk about it, but stock photos, there's only so many, and they're already on 500 different websites. So even if you're using AI to create a new stock photo, at least it's unique to your brand and it's not already out there. The other thing is cost, right? Professional photography, it's expensive, right? Your average photography session can be hundreds to thousands of dollars. You need a wardrobe, you need a location, you need your hair and makeup done. And maybe you don't even like the images you get back. I think we've all been there and been like, ugh, that's not really what I wanted. On the other hand, the LoRA solution, super cheap. We'll talk about specifics here in a few minutes, but extremely inexpensive. You can create variations of anything you want. different backgrounds, different lightings, different countries, anything like that that you want. And you don't have to go to Shanghai to take the photo. So really cool opportunities, particularly for product photography. And I'm going to show you kind of the difference today between portrait style training and then also product photography, and bonus, how you can combine the two, because that's really fun. All right, so again, overused, watered down stock photos. We've all seen those same photos over and over again. You lose that authenticity. This kind of replaces that option. So even if you're like, hey, I don't want to put AI photos of myself out there, totally fine. But at least maybe consider creating, your photos for your website or your marketing materials that are at least custom to your brand and completely unique. All right, so let's talk about kind of what it is in 2025. So a decade ago, we used to say that somebody needed to interact with your brand or see your product maybe 7 times to really get a good feel for it, to want to buy. Now, really, people are saying it's more like 12 to 15. Just the amount of content that you need to stay relevant, to be putting out there, because there's so much of it, you need more, right? And it's impossible with the amount of stuff we're trying to do. We're trying to run our businesses, take care of our families, have a personal life. It's hard to keep up with that much content, particularly when we have these AI tools. So let's use them to our advantage, and be able to put more content out there without some of the grunt work that comes along with that. So again, save time. We can create more content. We can generate thousands of images, whereas it used to be 10, 20 at a time from a photo shoot. So saving time, really key. Also staying on brand is another thing that we're going to talk about here. So outsourcing. How many of you are using virtual assistants or people like that in your business, right? It's hard to communicate your brand, your style, what you want things to look like. Well, that's where the LoRA comes in. We don't have to explain quite as in detail or expect, possibly an overseas virtual assistant to understand our brand in the same way that we used to. Maybe you had to do a lot of manual tweaking. You were having to explain, what kind of visuals you wanted to use in your business. That can be really hard and can be really challenging. This really cuts down on that time that you need to spend training someone on your team or someone that you're going to outsource to. All right, so we're going to talk about what you need to train a LoRA. There are multiple different environments that you can do this in. I'm going to use Fal AI today because I like it. But Stable Diffusion, Dream Booth, somebody told me Magi has a LoRA model as well. So lots of different options, but I will show you one today that I think is really user-friendly. But anything that you're comfortable in. 10 to 15 high quality images. This is one of those times that more is not better. When I started kind of doing this for myself, I wanted to give it like 60 different photos, give it every angle that I could come up with, every environment. More is not better, and honestly, keeping your data set really kind of consistent is really helpful here. So honestly, 4 to 6 really good photos is better than like 30 subpar photos here, so keep that in mind. And cost-wise, about $7, and that's on the high end. That's if you're using the portrait style LoRA training. It's a little bit more expensive. It's about $4 per run, but your average LoRA regular model, about $2. So it's extremely inexpensive. You can play with this all day long and like spend 20 bucks, which is what makes it really great. All right, so let's talk about what you want to prepare. So what I'm going to do today and kind of show you is what I would call a simple setup. We're not going to get into the nuances of really editing the photos, stuff like that. When I do these for clients, we put metadata in the photos. We're really specific about the keyword meaning. We're using the highest quality photos, but you can really do this with a limited data set without something super well prepared. So that's what I'm going to show you today. But as far as best practices, use your high resolution images, obviously. Consistent imagery. All of you standing, all of you sitting. If you want to do a product photo, the similar backgrounds to train it is going to be helpful. We're going to get you the creative versions later, but for the training purposes, as close to similar as you can get within your images is better. Create a dedicated folder and name it. So you want the keyword for your LoRA to be in that file name. So like if I'm doing myself, I want Jenna Nelson in that file name. Same thing if you're using like your product, a Starbucks cup, right? Like Starbucks cup, and name your photos individually as well. So not only the zip file, but also the individual photos will really help. And then again, use as much structure in that naming convention as you can. Like if you're standing, if you've got soft lighting, if you've got golden hour lighting, feel free to add all that in. It's only going to help and reduce the amount of prompting that you'll have to do later. So again, these are best practices, but truly you can get to a really great result without going too deep here, which is what we're gonna show you. So like I said, I wanna show you more than tell you about it. So I'm going to show you kind of live what this looks like and how you would actually go about training one. So that window. All right, so this is Fall AI. This is the environment we're going to use today. And when you log in here, so assuming you're logging into this one, you would just go to home. You would look for this fast LoRA training. There's an old slow LoRA training. I don't know why you'd use it. Use this one. Kind of archaic now. But anyway, you'll go in, you'll find this LoRA training. Again, this might not look exactly like the one you would be training in, but I think this is a really great one. And this is your, essentially, playground. So I highly recommend always, you can either add images, you can either add images individually or you can use a zip file. I really recommend the zip file. It preserves the image integrity more than anything, and it's just convenient. And you can use more than 4 images, which I would say 4 is kind of your low end. So I like to use the zip file. So you'll put that in here, whatever it is. And then your trigger word, this is what's really important. So this needs to match your data set, it needs to match your file name, and it needs to be descriptive of what you want, right? So again, if I were going to train, myself, like Jenna, right? Like Jenna Nelson, like this. All caps, you don't have to, but or something like, again, Starbucks cup, or whatever it is that you're trying to train, your brand, the stock photos, if it's something like women's retreat, right? Like that could be your keyword. So trigger word, put that in. We want to turn on this is style button, and literally that's all you have to do and hit start. So it's truly pick your file, put your trigger word in, turn the style on, start, go. I'm not going to live do it today because it can take, sometimes it takes 2 minutes depending on the data set, sometimes it takes an hour. So not going to make you sit here and wait for that. I've pre-trained a couple to show you, but it's literally that simple. And sometimes it does output in as little as 2-3 minutes. So the first one we're gonna look at, we're gonna talk about brand photos. So I'm gonna show you kind of what you would do with like a candle brand, for instance, and how you could customize, like if you were a candle manufacturer, how you can customize the background or who's holding it or what's it's near or anything like that. So we'll look at this one. So if you were going to use it, the first thing you would do is you would go to run inference. This is really important. You always wanna go through that run, and then make sure that your prompt is in here. It needs to be in that prompt anywhere. It doesn't have to be at the very beginning. I like to put it there. It can be anywhere, but it needs to be in there, and it needs to be exact to the way that you trained it. So for this case, I did a really generic set of 3 candles, right? These are stock photos from Canva, basic candles, right? But let's assume we've got like a luxury candle brand here. So we're going back to our prompter. Now, one thing I'm going to show you is what happens if you do nothing in terms of prompting. So if you start at the beginning and you don't put in a lot of context, it's going to kind of run wild. I actually like to start there. Every time I train a new LoRA, I always just basic prompt it, leave it alone, and let it see what it comes up with. I think it gives you a good kind of understanding of if you've trained it right, how your images are gonna look, gives you a little bit of early context, if you will. So just for fun, I'm gonna leave this one alone. When we talk about the settings in here, scale, I would say always leave that alone, not a big deal. Number of inference steps. So what this means is 28 is the default, and I would say for the most part, leave it there. I personally like 30, but 28 is gonna get you where you wanna be. The lower you turn it down, the less data points from your data set it tries to pull. So the less runs it goes through your image. If you turn that up, then it's going to take that image apart and really pick at it, right? So like, if you want all your wrinkles to show, go to the top end. If you want none of them, go to the lower end. Guidance scale, same kind of concept. The default is 3.5. Again, I think this is a good starting point. The lower you turn down the guidance scale, the more it's going to uniquely resemble your data set. So if it's 0, which I would say never do 0, you're basically gonna get a repeat image of something you already have. But if you turned it down to 1, it would try to match the data set as closely as possible. And the prompt as well. If you turn that all the way up, which I would not go super high unless you're truly looking for some sort of like fantasy dragon kitty thing, then the higher the guidance scale, the more AI is going to kind of step in and like give it ideas, give it creativity. 3.5 is a good starting point. You'll find, based on your brand and what you're trying to do, you'll find kind of your level, and it can change with the LoRA, it can change with the prompt, lots of different ways to go about it. So the good news is for each of these times you run it, and you can get 4 images at a time, it's like 0.03 cents. So you can run this thing like 30 times for $1. So it's really cheap to play with and find, you know, your exact kind of guidance scale and stuff like that. So again, these are all defaults. I have put nothing in the prompt, so we're just gonna run it and see what we get. A couple seconds, does its little generating image thing, and again, so I'd only put it on 1 image. I generally run it at 4, but it basically produced another version of these, but different, right? Again, I didn't give it any kind of prompt. I didn't tell it to do anything different, but brand new image, right? So now let's try to prompt it. So we go back into here. And this is an example of a really good prompt. This is really kind of built out. It talks about the type of resolution, how it's shot, no shadows. I also sometimes put negative prompts in there. I'll show you that one in a minute. So let's copy this one, take it back over here. Thank you, appreciate that. All right, so here's our prompt. I am gonna change this down here to number of images. 4 is the most you can get, but you might as well run all 4 at once. It gives you more variety. So we'll run it again. You're right, I have the wrong copy in there. Let's try that again. Can't wait to see what that turns out. That should be really interesting, huh? Okay. Very interesting. Yes, maybe. Lose that. Again. There we go. Hooray. All right, so again, standard issue, number of inference steps, standard guidance, but we've got this essentially candle that we've trained it on, and now we've given it a specific prompt, something specific that we're looking at, and it should do a really good job. And it does. It's changed the candle jar to the matte black that I've asked it for. It's put the gold label on it. It's given me a couple different versions. It gave me an unlit, a lit, bigger, fatter. So you can get as detailed as you want in those prompts and really change the output. So this is all obviously on a white background. If I wanted to try something else. I could do this. A really minimal prompt. Obviously, this is a very generic product option that I've used here, so it's more complex when you're using, well, I'll show you with my own photos here in a second, but you can be really simple with the prompt, or the more detailed you are with the prompt, the better output you're gonna get and the closer to what it is that you want, right? So again, it's added the decor I asked for, the soft texture, so you can really get kind of exactly what you're looking for, particularly when we're talking about something, you know, as easy as a product. Really, really easy to get the images that you want here. So that's what would happen if we were using a product. Now we're gonna try this one, which I just trained this one again this morning. Just like ChatGPT, it has good days, it has weird days. Wanted fresh data in today's kind of environment, because it's changed since the last time I did this for myself. So this one's fresh, just started it this morning. 6 photos, I'll go back and show you the photos that I used. These are not super high quality photos by any means. These are very basic selfies, nothing interesting here. These are not high res, but we're gonna get some decent options. Ooh. Now, with personal portraits, you have to get a lot more detailed, really, to get the output that you want. If you've trained the LoRA really well, if it has great data set pictures to begin with, you don't necessarily have to give it a ton of detail for the sake of getting to the result that I want faster. I tell it a lot about myself: age, hair color, weight, height, all those kind of things. You don't have to, you can. But you'll see, we'll do the same thing. We'll run, you know, kind of an empty prompt and see what we get versus a more detailed prompt. But so let's go back to this one. So if I were to run this, this is set to those kind of standard parameters we talked about, 3.5, really not changing anything here other than 4. And again, no prompt here. This is just based on those photos that I've trained it on. Here we go. This might be fun. While that's spinning, in here you can get, oh, we got an NSFW, that's fun. Don't know why. That's new. But okay, so not terrible, right? Like, we're a little off, there's a little plasticky going on, but not terrible for a first run with no prompting, really. So now let's put some prompts in. So these are a couple. I have kind of a standard, and I have a template for this I'll give you guys, but I have a standard main prompt for myself that I use, and then I edit, you know, based on the background that I want or what I want to be holding or near. But I have kind of that just, you know, ready to copy paste. But let's put this one in. So in this particular prompt, I'm telling it about what I want in the background, what I want to be wearing, about my size, my frame, my hair color, and then I've also put negative prompts in here. Negative prompts can really help you get to the right result faster. What you don't want, sometimes it picks up better than what you do want. So we're gonna throw this one in here and see what we get. Again, we'll run that at the 3.5, 28. I personally like, for myself, I usually end on the guidance scale somewhere around like 5 to 6, depending on the prompt. But again, you'll find what works based on yours, what's interesting to you. All right, decent, not bad. Again, you know, if I'm going to zoom in and get really close, a couple things off, but it's not terrible, right? Like, we're getting there. One thing we could do is we could leave that prompt in place and we could change the guidance scale. So let's turn it up a little bit. Right at 6. So this is going to give it a little bit more creative leverage. Sometimes with personal portraits. I find that when you go higher on the guidance scale, you get a little bit more of that like plasticky kind of AI looking appearance. So I try to keep the guidance scale lower when possible. But if you're not getting the result that you want, then you might need, not bad. I could live with that. I think that would pass, for the general public, right? That's not interacting with me on a daily basis. It might not pass my mom, but honestly, the headshot I used for this totally passed my mom. So maybe it does. And again, if we turn the guidance scale way down, like 2, we're probably going to get a lot more wrinkles, a lot closer to my actual, face structure or what it has at least interpreted from the data set. But you can play with these and really get, yeah, actually this bottom one's pretty passable in my opinion. So pretty easy to do, right? It doesn't take a lot of effort. It really doesn't take super cleaned up, really difficult photos. And then the other one that I wanted to show you is you can combine LoRAs. So I trained a candle earlier. We've got a path for that. I've trained myself. Now let's see if we can combine the two. So in this case, you've already got this LoRA path in here. That's its sort of default link for this trained one. I generally recommend if you're combining people with a product, use the LoRA for the person for your main prompt and then add in the product. I think it does a better job with that and be more detailed about the person's portrait in the prompting than you are with the product. The product, it gets pretty easily. There's a lot more nuances, obviously, in faces. So we'll go ahead and leave this product or this prompt alone. It's fine. And then we'll go back in things. So I need that link from the other one. I would go back here, pick up this link, back. I do wish you could label these. That would make life a lot easier. You can't until you get into your prompt keyword. That would make life better. All right, so I'm going to add this, and then I'm going to put in holding. Candle photos is how I tagged that other one. And that's all you have to put in there. There's no like @ or anything like that. But then what I need to do is I need to add the LoRA. So I'll go down to add item, put that link in for that one. Scale I can leave alone. And then I'll go ahead and put my prompt in here, like maybe I will use just my main personal prompt and we'll see what we got. I'm just going to leave the defaults in there. That's the 28 with 3.5, and let's see what we got. This is obviously really great. If you do have a product and you want, photos of team members or you or anything like that with a product, I think it'll change the way brand deals. We don't necessarily, not bad. I decided on 2, but not bad, right? So you can add in stuff like that. You can make it look like people are holding your product, and you can do that without actually creating real people, which is pretty great. So for instance, if I wanted to turn the guidance scale up, I could make it look really different than me to kind of get away from any, overlap there. There's lots of options here. Really cool things you can do with the prompts. You can combine LoRAs. I find that after 3, it starts to get a little dicey, but I have pretty significantly gotten 3 combined without issues. And so that's kind of it. You can go back to so good examples. These we've kind of already gone through these. This first one is the one that I used to test it. The more detail you give it, no shadows, the type of photography that you want. Golden hour works really great for personal photos. Everybody looks good in golden hour. I really like that one. Photorealistic is one that I like to use a lot. Natural skin texture works really well if you're getting that too like plasticky. So there's lots of prompts. I have a guide for you guys that gives kind of all these broken down and some sample prompts and a way to write yours. So I'll pass that along to you so you kind of have all of this. But definitely use negative prompts when you can. Tell it no dark photos, no fantasy, unrealistic style, whatever it is that you want is really good there. It's entirely possible, and it didn't today, I'm surprised. You will ask it for like you as a person. Well, we saw it duplicated the candle. Sometimes it will put you in a room full of you with like 8 different versions of you. It likes to give me a twin a lot. So you'll see that. So you may have to edit and say by myself or alone. Sometimes you'll get that. Realistic looking hands, we all know that's kind of one of the harder ones. I think the LoRAs do a pretty good job, but you can always count fingers if you need to. If you're not getting to, literally with 5 fingers, I've had to say before. Use ChatGPT to help you prompt. Go in, tell it about you, tell it about the version that you want of it, and tell it what model you're using. Like tell it, hey, I'm using Flux. What would I prompt? And you can get those prompts, written for you. Properly generated text, still kind of a big issue. It's getting there, it's better, and particularly if you're training it on a logo or a brand submark or something like that, it's gonna do pretty well, but I would avoid like asking it to put a sentence or words on a shirt. It's a lot easier to generate the photo and then go back and overlay that in Canva or digitally. But just, experiment with it. Find the guidance scale that looks best for you. You might prefer to look a little more cleaned up, right? Or maybe you want it as natural as possible. Play with that and find kind of your thing. So I do have a full guide on the prompting, what to include, what not to include. So feel free to grab that. And create some really cool photos without having to go through, all of the drama of a photo shoot, and experiment with different things and get that exact photo that you want, right? Like that photo in your head that you just can't find, or the stock photo that you can't find, or the outfit you wish you had but you don't have. Make it happen. Use AI for it. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank
Any-
you so much, Jenna. I think we have some questions in the audience.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. Dawn, do you want to start?
I couldn't get in while you were playing, so I'll come back to it. And I think you answered it too with ChatGPT. I was thinking I just upload my photos into that and let it tell me what it
you can
sees.
absolutely do that. Yeah.
I think, Jenna, though, it's how you set it up. So how do you set the software up? I think that was actually the question I thought you were going to ask, was about the inputs. So you have to actually you can't just use the tool that you used on its own. You actually have to set up APIs for it so it knows where to feed off the models.
No, you just upload those photos right into.
Can you walk through that one more time? You're not a Mac user.
I am totally not a Mac user, and I'm a touchscreen user, and I keep trying to do it that way, and that's not working.
Well, we know all the things that I get sent to me on a daily basis now.
So yes, let's go back to the playground. So again, fast LoRA training, and then all you've got to do is put in your images here with add image. Or is it fine?
Yeah, so there's no playground appearing the first time you go in. So I think that's the question, is like, where is base level?
Yes, okay. So if you were to log in to Fall AI, where we're training here, you would, so I would honestly just go to Explore and LoRA training. Mine comes up right at the top because I'm using it all the time, but yeah, it's right here. And this is the portrait trainer too. It's a little bit more expensive and it is very detailed. So if you don't want really hyper detailed of your face, I would stick with the regular LoRA training, but the portrait trainer can give you some really cool headshot imagery too. But so it's you can search for it. Once you use it once, it'll kind of live up here in your top area. But it's the fast LoRA training.
Thank you.
If you upload photos, do they become available to others to use or see or access?
So that's a great question. So my understanding is that as long as you are within your own, so we're going through this run inference here, is that they shouldn't be able to access the exact same that you've trained it on your trigger word. My workaround with that, like if I have clients that are worried about it, is we use a code word for the trigger word instead of something like their name. So we'll use phone numbers backwards or something like that if we're really concerned about that. But as long as they don't have access to your account and are running the inference through it with your trigger word, it should be okay. But legally, I decline to answer that.
Anyone else have more questions? No, I'm so surprised. I feel like there's like a million questions to ask here. What do you think the best use case has been for this? Like, you know, when you think about your business.
So I would say the best one that I'm, at least for clients, are the product photos, right? Like we, especially for ad graphics, we can generate so many consistent brand imagery. And I think that's the other one too, is just staying on brand, being able to keep within your ecosystem without, you know, having to train somebody on it.
Hi, Jenna.
Yeah.
I really like that icon that says commercial use right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Are you open to pressing that and showing us?
It doesn't.
My thought on that is that you must have a level of this that gives you the rights for commercial use versus there's probably a different level that doesn't give you commercial
No,
use.
I have just a
Because that
basic
looks like a
account.
tag.
You do have to fund it. You do have to add your card to buy credits, but yeah.
Well, because that looks like it's giving a disclosure that you are allowed to use it for commercial use.
If you mouse over it a little bit, it says this model is enabled to use for commercial use. So this model is available for commercial use. So that was it.
Yeah, but that's a publicly available model.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. Well, Jenna, thank you so much. Oh, did you? Oh. Jenna.
Yeah.
So I see on there that it has analytics. What are the analytics able to analyze?
So if you want to get really into the weeds, every output that you generate generates JSON code. So you can, yeah, I know. If you want to get really nerdy about it, you can pull the JSON code and then retrain other models or embed it based on the code. So that's what that analytics does. And it also shows you like how the images were processed, like how many times it ran through its steps.
So I'm seeing some really nice little tabs over here that are speaking to me right now. So between that and the API, so I can basically get my HeyGen 11 Labs and this guy and then send it through workflows. Oh, you just trashed my productivity for the next month.
Certainly can. We do that.
What?
Yeah.
We're gonna be friends.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah. The JSON code, if you know how to implement it, is
wow.
really cool. Yeah.
I will translate that later.
Anybody else?
Okay, so imagine you're posting blogs or doing anything like that, right? You could use something like that as the trigger for the beginning of a workflow to then go say, hey, go ahead and talk to these guys and then curate the thing and then go post it. And then assuming if you're on something like high level or whatnot, then you can be like, okay, well now take that and go ahead and put it on the social calendar automatically because you posted a blog or you did a thing or something, right? Or say you submitted a form. Lots of different things that can just like skyrocket where you're going while keeping everything consistent.
I love the fact that Jenna was like, we're going to go into like the techie space. And then Colleen's like, I'm sorry, we're going to take you to the executive level of techie space. Thank you so much.